Hello, welcome to Maltbox, the non-chill filtered whisky blog. I'm Andy and this is whisky review number 2, and incidentally is also the second review in our mini-series featuring Speyside Distillery, Benromach. Now, in case you've not seen the first video, we reviewed and had a look at the relatively recently released 5-year-old from that distillery. So today, what we're doing, we're taking things up a notch. We've got a bit of a double header going on because we've got the 10-year-old and we've also got the 10-year-old 100 proof. Now, just in advance, don't worry, I have drunk this before. It's not a brand new, well it is a brand new bottle, but this is actually the second one that I've gone through, which should tell you something from the off. So, without further ado, the 10-year-old from Benromach, here, bottled at 43%, and the interesting thing with these two whiskies, and I'll get it out of the way now, is that they are pretty much identical in the sense of the cask makeup. So, same as the 5-year-old in fact, 80% bourbon barrels and 20% sherry, 9-year-old whisky. They are then put for the final year into first fill Oloroso. So it's a 9-year-old whisky, so they've got 80% of that whisky comes from bourbon casks, 20% comes from sherry casks, and then in the last year they put those together into first fill Oloroso casks to basically give it like a nice first fill finish. So I'm going to pour this one first. Love that noise. Okay, let's pop that there. You might not have seen this from where you are, but the lid of the boxes, prepare to be amazed, also double up as bottle stands when you put them on your shelf. Look at that. Yep. So, nice colour there, sort of light copper. It's much darker than the 5-year-old though in comparison, so if we get that there, pop that there next to it, you can kind of see the colour differences really. And not only is that due to the extra time in the cask initially, but also obviously that first fill Oloroso for the last year will also lend itself to adding a lot of colour and a lot of flavour as well. So the 10-year-old, I mean, as with all the range, was actually redesigned in 2013-2014. So I'm going to give it a bit of a nose first of all, and it's lovely. It's very accessible. Like the 5-year-old, you've got that smoke in the background. It's very nutty, very fruity. I think sort of like dry cranberry as well. Very, very sweet. It is very sweet. You've got sort of like dairy milk, fruit and nut bar in there. So sort of like the nuttiness and chocolate as well. And you've still got that smoke in the background, just enveloping everything, binding everything together. Now, in case you've not seen the first review, Benromach is, well, it used to be Speyside's smallest distillery until Ballindock, I think. Might not pronounce that correctly. Started up in 2014. So, just a quick recap. Total capacity for spirit at Benromach, 500,000 litres a year. They're only doing about half that at the moment, so they're only producing around 240,000–250,000 litres of spirit a year, so it's a very small operation. Which kind of adds to it a little bit, you know, it's a very old school distillery. A bit of fudge, that nuttiness is really prevalent. Okay, I'll give it a taste, shall I? Good thick mouthfeel, and that is the one of the most important things for me personally when I pick a whisky is the mouthfeel. I like it oily, and this is oily. It's the initial flavours, again chocolate, which is continuing. The smoke, you've got a lovely kind of woody, oh, I can't put my finger on it, walnut oil, caramel as well, so not toffee, caramel. It's a lovely spirit, it is a lovely spirit. Finish, long, warming, cinnamon, bit of nutmeg, it's quite spicy, and that smoke's still there as well, just enveloping everything. It's not overpowering, same with the 5-year-old, it's just there in the background, giving it a nice bit of depth and richness to it. Very good. It's a very good whiskey. See, nice legs on it too. It's a good start, that one. Now moving on to its stronger brother. The 100 proof was released in late 2014. You can already see another colour comparison here. Obviously this is a lot more empty, but you know, the difference in colour, it's quite obvious. It's, you know, the extra strength. You know, it's obviously not been watered down to 43. The word proof, first of all. So 100 proof. It's an old nautical term. It harks back to the time of sort of like the Royal Navy and the Napoleonic Wars, and before that, out in the Caribbean and whatnot. And they don't do it anymore. I think they stopped in the 1970s. But sailors used to get a tot of rum a day. I think it was something. It was something ridiculous. It's something like a quarter of a pint. Springs to mind of a rum ration. So they were up there, 50 feet, 100 feet up in these old soul ships, doing, you know, climbing about in the rigging after drinking a quarter of a pint of rum. Sounds perfectly safe. What some pursers might do to keep costs down on the ship is attempt to water down the rum and the rum ration to make it last a bit longer. So what sailors used to do is used to get a little bit of their rum ration, a bit of their top, mix it with some gunpowder, and if it ignited with a scratch of a flint, brilliant, it's not been tampered with, I'll drink it in and go running up those masts again. And that was proof that it hadn't been tampered with. So 100 proof means, as it sounds, it's 100%, as it is, full strength, legit. So, knocking the box. So what that equates to in new money is 57%. So big step up there, 43 to 57. Now I'm going to give this a pour. I'll talk through the packaging again in a minute because they are very similar, so it's pretty difficult to tell between them on the shelf apart from that red band. So if you do end up wanting to look for this, just be careful that you pick up the right one. So again, you can see the dark colour there, and as I was saying earlier, 80% bourbon, 20% sherry, finished with the final year in first fill Oloroso. And you can kind of tell, definitely, with this one. I mean, just look at the rich copper amber colour. It's lovely there. So let's see how it compares to the nose of the standard 10. Well, it's a lot more closed to start off with, which you might expect, because sometimes it does take a bit of water just to release the flavour and aroma of a whisky. It's a particular one of this strength. It's dusty. Think leather books, old libraries. Again, the chocolate's there. It's the smoke prevalent. A slight herbal quality. Yeah, very slight dried herbal quality there as well. And it's a bit of a cliche, and you see it in a lot of whisky reviews, but the whole Christmas cake thing is pretty much going on here, to be honest with you. You've got the raisins, you've got the orange peel and orange zest. And that sherry influence carries well. It does, it really does stand up to it. You do find that cask strength whiskies of a young-ish age, such as this 10-year-old, don't necessarily stand up to the strength very well. They can be quite raw, quite burning on the nose, but this is actually quite smooth. It's strong, you can tell it's strong, but it's still very smooth, very refined and very rich. So I'm going to taste it neat, first of all. I shouldn't swill it around the glass like that really, I should probably do it a bit properly like that. It's even thicker than the standard 10. Again, very rich. The smoke is certainly more prevalent, in my opinion, in the stronger bottling. Fudge, similar flavours, but this has got kind of it's more meaty. There is actually kind of a barbecue element to it as well, on that note. Sort of like a nice grilled meat. It's very well put together. It's very easy to overlook a whisky's actual structure at times. Something might taste good, but then the mouthfeel might not be quite up to scratch. Something might have a really good mouthfeel, but then for some reason the flavour doesn't quite follow through. This has got a lot of things going for it. It's very rounded, very refined. They've honed in on this very well. They've clearly been practicing, which you'd hope it would do, to be fair. Just going back to it now, it's opened up a little bit. The orange is becoming more prevalent. What we're going to do, just for science, is put a touch of water in here. So what have we got there? Put a teaspoon in. Maybe a bit less than a teaspoon. And just leave that there for a moment. I'm going to go back to the 10 while that's opening up. Yeah, it's a lot softer in comparison. There is a bit of a salt element to it as well, which is quite interesting, because we found that on the 5, sort of an ozone-y element to it, but that's generally something found with coastal whiskies or Islay whiskies. So it is quite interesting to find it in this. It's not a bad thing, it really does add to it. It's like a salted caramel type of note. Well, not only can you tell that they come from the same stable, but you can certainly tell that they're brothers and or sisters, depending on which way you want to look at it. Let's try this now with a bit of the water in. Interesting. The water's actually brought out that sort of barbecue element that I mentioned earlier. It's like smoked meat. I could probably nose these all day, to be honest with you. Chocolate's there, I think it's Spanish drinking chocolate. Sort of like a berry fruit nose as well, maybe strawberries. Only a very slight touch of it. It's also quite cereally, so think like porridge, like honeyed porridge, something like that. Well, I've just realised I put it down, I need to taste it. Yeah, okay. Still thick, still oily, brilliant. It's kind of a mentholy note coming out as well, alongside the smoke. So you've got like orange peel, menthols, like brandy soaked raisins, chocolate pudding. And the finish, again, long, spicy, warming. They're both very, very good whiskies. They are both very good whiskies. Now, in terms of if you did want to purchase one of these, or if you were already looking at these, which is why you might be watching the review, the standard 10 generally retails for around £35. 1000 proof retails at, I think it's about 45, 46, something around there. Might be a bit more, might be a bit less, depending where you look. So it's worth, in my opinion, it is worth trying both, to be honest with you. There are discernible differences. The flavours are quite in line, but at the same time there are elements to each other that are quite different, that do differentiate between them. I mean, if I go back to the 100 proof, yeah, it's opening up even more with that little bit of water in there over time. It's sort of like furniture polish, like oak table type of thing, you know, where you've got your Mr. Sheen out, or your beeswax if you've got that in cupboard instead. And again, there's kind of a woody element to the nose of this as well, like pencil shavings. And again, nuts, hazelnuts, Brazil nuts. Both very good whiskies. So, in terms of scores, I'm going to give the Benromach 10, so the standard 10, 87 out of 100. So that's 87 for the Benromach 10. For the 100 proof, I'm going to give it 89. Now, you might think, 2 points difference, is it worth the extra cost? In my opinion, it is. It's a brilliant whiskey. It belies its age. It really does belie its age. You would not have thought that was a 10-year-old, and in fairness, you would have thought that was a lot older as well. Maybe a 13, 15 or something like that, which incidentally Benromach have also recently released, the 15-year-old. So, overall, 2 absolutely fantastic whiskies, very accessible, again available on places like Master of Malt, the Whisky Exchange, etc. In the next review, on that note, if I put these boxes to one side, we're going to be looking at the Benromach 30-year-old. Now, there it is. So we'll be looking at this in the next review. So that will be the final part of the Benromach mini-series. And that'll be posted next week. And I think what we'll do after that, we'll have a look around the shelves and I'll pick something out and see what we can do. In the meantime, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope if you do decide to pick up one of these whiskies that you enjoy them as much as I did. Come back and watch our next review. So that's Malt Box. Again, I'm Andy. If you want to send us a tweet, I'm on Twitter with the hashtag, the Twitter handle, should I say, at maltbox, all one word. Or you can drop me an email at maltbox@gmail.com. Any feedback, suggestions, all welcome. So once again, thank you very much for watching. See you soon.